Broadcasting live from the Phoenix Business RadioX studio in Tempe, Arizona. You are tuning in to Culture Crush with Kendra Maples. This podcast will dive into a variety of companies that are crushing it with a great company culture.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Culture Crush. On this podcast, we focus on everything surrounding businesses with a good company culture. We talk with company leaders to find out about real-life experiences, tips, and best practices for creating a healthy work environment. We also share resources that are helping to support growing a good company culture as well. On this podcast, we continue to highlight amazing companies that are crushing it with a great company culture. And today is no different. Today is actually extra special for me. So today we have Nancy Padbrook with Catholic Education Arizona, and we have Eric Olson with Fasturtle Digital Marketing. The really neat thing about today is Nancy, being from Catholic Education Arizona, gets to highlight being one of our sponsors. So I'll give kind of a snippet about it, but we'll definitely dive in a little more about what they do and how they serve the community. Catholic Education Arizona is one of our sponsors. If you haven't heard of them, please look them up. They are on all platforms. Catholic Education Arizona corporate partners include APS, BBVA, Grand Canyon University, and over 120 others. Consider using your Arizona corporate tax credit to educate underserved children. Call them at 602-218-6542 or visit their website, www.ceaz.org. But we will dive in and let Nancy tell a little bit in person. But first off, welcome to both of you. Thank you.
Great for being here. Wonderful.
I'm so excited to have you guys here. So before we kind of dive in, I always like to start with hearing a little bit about our guests, your role, what you do, how your company works. But I do want to highlight the really cool relationship between the two of you and how both of you ended up here. Nancy, you are, representing Catholic Education Arizona. You are a sponsor of the Culture Crush Business podcast. And so I had asked you, usually I'm the one that kind of does the research and looks into these different companies with good cultures, but your company has an amazing culture. And so I knew that you aligned yourself with other companies that have a good culture.
Absolutely.
So I put it in your hands and I said, who do you want to bring on the show? You said Eric, which was so cool because I have met Eric previously in this same Phoenix Business RadioX studio, just not on the show. So I absolutely loved that. So thank you for bringing him in. So let's start. Actually, I want to start with you then, Eric. Let's bring you in. Tell us a little bit about you, your company, what you do, and maybe that relationship that you have with Catholic Education Arizona. And then Nancy will pop to you.
Sure. Thank you very much. I actually founded Fasturtle Digital a little over 20 years ago. We are a website design development and digital marketing agency. We're a Google partner, Facebook partner. And we work with a number of nonprofits here in the Valley as well as across the country and a number of small businesses. Anyone ranging from, landscape all the way through semiconductor companies. So we can kind of do it all. And really the big differentiator with us is we're fully transparent as far as what we're doing, what the reporting looks like. If we're doing SEO and other various digital marketing, Google ad campaigns, we've got a great platform where our clients can see calls coming in, form fills, and we're reviewing that on a monthly basis. We're really a true partner of our clients. And it's funny because I met Nancy a little over 2 years ago, and just at a networking event, talking about digital marketing, and we really just hit it off and talked about the value of digital marketing and talked about the transparency. Really, just she was looking for a partner, for Catholic Education Arizona, and really, and she's a really brilliant woman and a great leader, and to sit there and have great conversations of, okay, where do we want to take the organization? How can we get to the numbers that we want to hit for donors and tax credits and things like that? And really, work with her as a partner and become her outsourced marketing team to really develop strategy and have my team really implement the plans. She's one of the great clients that we have. We've got many, but it's always a pleasure when we have our monthly calls and her team's talking to our team. So
let's let Eric keep talking.
These are all good audio clips for later, just for you, Nancy.
I'm truly, Eric, it was like a God wink, because I was searching for a digital marketing, digital agency, and I wasn't finding what I was looking for. And I spent my career in advertising, marketing, and digital, and no one could speak that same language. Like, what's SEO? What's SEM? What's programmatic? What's geofencing? I get blank stares. Or they want to charge an astronomical amount that we just couldn't play as a nonprofit in that field. So Eric and I knew it clicked, and we knew we both had high expectations. And then I found out that he also has children in our Catholic schools was fantastic.
Oh, I love it.
Truly. Thank you. Thank you, God. You put the right person in front of me. And we have had incredible increases in 2 years. So we have grown from 16.8 million to almost 20.1 million. And I attribute that to our partners. I attribute that to our healthy culture. I attribute that to the transparency that Eric was also talking to as well. And you have to have that with I'm not going to use the word vendor. I don't like that. You have to have that with your partner that you work closely with on a daily basis. The most important marketing piece you have as an organization is your website. And it has to work well. It has to function. And guess what? During April and December, our peak periods for tax contributions, we have a lot of volume, and it has to work well. And so we have a lot of moving parts, but I attribute a lot of our growth and just our continued success with our partners and partners like Eric.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about what Catholic Education Arizona does.
Sure. So we're lucky to live in a state like Arizona. There are only 19 states that take tax contributions for children, private education, scholarships to attend school. So we serve underserved children and to change lives, serve society, and transform culture. That's our mission. And we've been around for 23 years. We have distributed about $268 million over that time period to 138,000 scholarship recipients. Okay, so great numbers. We serve 37 Catholic schools and Boys Hope, Girls Hope. So we also, these are good stats. We have a 99.4% graduation rate at the high schools. 97% go on and matriculate to higher ed or military service. And Catholic Education Arizona, we contribute to about 45% of the children in Catholic schools at some level scholarships. So just it really depends. We have a third party called FAIR that go through the applications. For 20 years, they've been with us. And so we really believe that's the best way to do it, to have a third party go through the applications. And let's see. What else can I answer for you? I got lots of stats.
Right? No, this is perfect. This is perfect. And so as we talk about both of your companies, and then we transition into this conversation of company culture. What I'm loving lately is being able to highlight companies that are growing an amazing company culture that folks maybe wouldn't think of, right? Eric, you and I had the chance to talk last week, and we were talking about your company and with your folks being remote and, being digital marketing, your folks are kind of in other areas. You're not there in person as a team. So you've really got to work on that side of things with growing a good company culture. Nancy, you and I we clicked right away.
Get somebody that knows culture.
Oh my gosh. I think our lunch was supposed to take an hour, and I think it took 3 hours. I may have been late to another meeting. But we clicked because we were just like you were talking about, with Eric, you guys are talking the same language about SEOs and all of this. You and I were talking the same language about company culture and how absolutely crucial it is to grow nowadays. It's not really even, I would say from my perspective, it's not really even an option anymore because we're growing in a time where people can make that decision of, hey, this is a shitty company culture. Guess what? I don't need to stay. And so, you and I had the conversation to really dive in. We had the chance to really dive into some of this. So I kind of want to just start with a very open, plain, simple question for both of you of what is company culture? And there's so many pieces to that, right? I say it's a simple question. It's not. There's so many pieces to that, but it looks different to every company, right? What works for the company culture at Catholic Education Arizona may not fit with Fasturtle, right? And Nancy, you and I talked about this. It might not work with an outdoor company. It might not work with a company like Black Rifle Coffee, an amazing company culture. Very unique though, versus, a company that's maybe on the tech side. So it's not interchangeable between companies. So Nancy, I'll start with you. What is company culture to you?
Well, I think these are the common threads though for all companies with a common culture. Here's what it's not. It's not only just foosball, cold brewed coffee, and meditation rooms. Okay, people in happy hours. Like, I hear this so much. That's our culture, and I think that's nice, but that's not culture. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a leader that creates a vision, adds value to others, live the core values, create feedback processes. You have to build trust and take time to listen. Now, I think those cross boundaries across any organization. When you're talking about vision, adding values, building trust, living the values, I think that actually goes across all organizations.
Mm-hmm. Those ones definitely. That common thread of what happens within that organization, keeping those strong values and in alignment, right, within that company, the feedback, the listening, those are huge. I love those. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, and it's funny because we talked about this, over a couple months ago when we're really working with our remote staff, and we came back with the answer because we did. What is our culture? And we're constantly talking about those things and how to improve. I'm always about, progress, not perfection. Let's just keep on getting better. So we actually came back and for our definition, it's our core values in action. And so it aligned really what Nancy just said is like, all right, we all have this. You've got that list of values. It's part of your mission and vision and everything else. But how does that really resonate with your employees? One, rather than just a list of words, and then two, how do they use that on a daily basis or weekly basis to help guide them with their decision making?
I love that you said that because that guiding piece is huge. And especially you've got companies where the leader, right, the CEO, the COO, these leaders at the top, they are the ones, leading everyone in the right direction. So yes, everyone's going to look to them for those answers, but having that guide for everybody to follow, right? Which direction is the CEO going in? The COO, the VP, having those directions that they can all kind of head in together in alignment is so important. And so Nancy, you and I had the chance to talk, and you were so excited when you came into your role at Catholic Education Arizona because you were looking at it from that perspective of being that leader that was going to help form and grow that culture in the right direction. Tell us about that. Tell us, what does that look like? The energy that it takes when you're that new leader coming in.
Wow, there's a lot of different answers. Let's see. Let's start with the beginning.
Okay.
So a healthy culture is also about your environment.
Mhm.
It's about those tangible things. So in addition to the building trust and communication pieces, you also have to have a good working environment. So frankly, we're real fortunate that our lease was going to be coming up. So it took about 6 months. We found a new space where everybody has their own office. Our work requires a lot of telephone work.
Mhm.
And so before, people were in cubicles, kind of talking over each other. It wasn't efficient. So when people feel like they're honored and respected also in their space, that environment is so important. So I'd say never, any listeners, don't dismiss that space that people work in. And even now that it's remote, you have to honor people in their space too, which might be juggling quite a bit from a basement or bedroom or wherever they might be.
Right.
So that's another important piece of culture, I think, is the space.
Mhm.
And so for us, we moved just as the pandemic was hitting. So we really are just starting to enjoy our beautiful space here. And everybody's really happy with it.
Mhm.
And that was a big key. And I knew that was from my studies. So how I learned about healthy culture was in business school in my organizational behavior class. Dr. Miriam Lacey, I always have to give her the credit because she says you'll always find, how would you say it? You have to find the right fit for you. So anybody that's out there looking for a new job, look for that fit for you and always ask about a healthy culture, and not that it's just espoused, it has to be practiced. Like, how do you practice a healthy culture? So if people think it's a new trend or buzzword, no, it is absolutely not. This has been studied for years. Think about even Dr. Edward Deming. He said continuous improvement, to your point, Eric,
Mhm.
right? I love that. I wrote that down. Progress, not perfection, right? We're people. We're going to have frailties. We're going to have,
Mhm.
but when you hire people with good hearts, and that's part of that healthy culture, is hiring people in their gift and moving things out of the way, get barriers out of the way, provide the resources. That is the value the leader brings too. And so a servant leader, in which I practice very hard on becoming, because I think it's a work in progress, is how do you serve people in your organization? And if we can't bring significance to people, if we can't make them feel valued, that's what we have to do as a leader.
Mhm.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Nancy just said, because that's our job, is to make sure. And we talk about, Kendra, you kind of spoke on it a little bit earlier in the show, is that right now, we've got employees that are out there that, they can go to a lot of different companies. It's the employee has a little bit more power now than they probably a year or 2 years ago, where, and they've got some other opportunities that are out there, especially with what's going on, with remote and COVID and all these other things that are really now opening the eyes of a lot of business owners that are saying, well, we can't do the same old anymore.
Mhm.
A lot of the reports are coming back saying a lot of people don't want to go back to, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so you have to find ways to entice your employees to really do that great job and have value when they do it. And then to Nancy's point, get out of the way. Take the roadblocks out of the way.
Mhm.
Let them do their job. Put your key metrics in where you can report and say, all right, when are they working, or not even when, it's, are they doing the things that they need to get done? But does it really matter if they're doing it at 11 o'clock in the morning, or they're doing it at 7 o'clock at night, responding to emails and things like that? I think we have to get away from the way things were done back in the 80s, And now we've just got a different working environment, one for companies, but really the different employee sector that's out there. They're demanding more personal attention,
Mm-hmm.
and they deserve it. These are the people that are building our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's that attention and that feel that you're valued, right? And like both of you said, it's changing, right? So the space part that Nancy you spoke on, I think it was Noah Barrasso from Kaiser. He was on the People and Profit podcast, so with conscious capitalism, and he had talked about this whole thing with WebPT, how their setup is, and he did a whole write up exactly of what you're talking about. That the space is so important, and then, on the flip side, right, you've got companies that are remote now. We've got folks that are not together and are not in the same room. So, Eric, you can speak on that right now. You're building this strong company culture, and your folks are completely remote for the most part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were always down here at Galvanize, a co-working facility downtown, and we loved it. And we had suites, and everybody came in, and this great tech vibe. And, it was kind of a blessing. We've always been built to work from home. When people needed to work from home, whether, take care of car stuff or have other responsibilities with family and things like that, then they totally could. We've been using Zoom for like 3 years. So, we've been used to this. Now it's really allowed us to identify that our employees really love working from home, and it's really a kind of an additional benefit that we say, hey, we have the suite down here at Galvanize, and we've got other spots where they can come in, and if they want a change of scenery, they can absolutely take advantage of it. But we took 2020 and really put in metrics where we don't need to have you in the office. One of a great line that I heard, talking about company culture a couple months ago at Vistage is, if you have an employee that you have to check in on, it doesn't matter if they're in the office or out of the office, they were goofing around anyways. Whether they're going into the, get water every 5 minutes or, circle around and talk to everybody and, do those things. It doesn't matter if they were being productive or non-productive in the office. So it doesn't really matter whether they're here or not. And really our employees have loved it because, to the point I made earlier, like if you need to go get your car worked on and it's at 11 o'clock in the morning, but I know that you're working at 6 o'clock at night, responding to emails or, getting things done, then I'm the one with the problem and says, hey, you need to be 8 to 5. So we actually just brought on an incredible account manager from another agency because of that. Because at the other agency, they were 8 to 5. You've got to come in. You've got to, make your phone calls and get your stuff done. And this person's like a rock star. And he goes, the reason I chose Fasturtle over, other agencies is because of our culture, because of, hey, you can do whatever you want. And he's actually and we've talked about it, they're looking at selling their house and traveling. And I'm like, as long as you have good internet, you can do whatever you want.
That's awesome.
Does a great job. So those are the things that, you've got to kind of think out of the box as we get as you continue to grow your company.
Right. And you're providing them that support. And like you said, if you are the CEO or the VP, whatever it is, if you had to watch them before when they were in the office and make sure they came in at this time and make sure they left at that time, they were screwing around anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't, if they're at home, okay, they're doing a load of laundry. But if they're at work, just because they're physically there doesn't mean that work is getting done. And, we're definitely shifting. And granted, there's some jobs that are very much, hey, you have to do it during this time. I get it. But we're just in such a new time that the flexibility it's an option and it works for some companies. And then it gets intertwined into that company culture. So you do have the support, I'm sure, Eric, that your teammates, your staff loves the fact that they're like, man, I have to take my car in and I know that Eric's cool with it because I'm going to keep working later on. At this point, we're adults, right?
Right. And let's bring up that word fear, because you cannot have fear in your culture or your environment, because that kills your creativity, kills innovation. And so if that creeps in, you're just not going to get the best work. And so that's where that value of trust comes in, right? I think that's the most important, certainly one of our values. Because if you don't have trust, really in any relationship, but let alone your organization, I think that's what success is built on.
And that fear that you're talking about, you might have leadership that thinks, oh, we have a great company culture, right? But then the staff lower down is kind of worried because they do have to stick to, particular times or whatever. They're nervous. Oh, I didn't get 15 emails out, so that, like you said, it completely changes the behavior of your staff. And then again, that's trickling into the overall company culture. And then that trickles into, right? Then you have staff leave because they figure out, hey, I don't have to do this anymore. I'm going to go to a company where I'm not freaked out at work. And then that's a trickle, right? So now you're hiring more people. Now you're training more people. You're spending more money onboarding more people.
That's right.
Then if you can put that time, that energy, and it's not easy, right? But you put the time and the energy in on the forefront, now you're keeping staff longer. Your staff feels supported. They know, hey, Nancy's going to let me run to a doctor's appointment, come right back, finish my job. They feel supported, right? You've got that trust, Nancy, that you're talking about on both sides.
Right.
And now, and I think, Nancy, you and I talked about this before too. Now you've got people that absolutely are invested. They feel trusted, valued, and guess what? They become your best spokesperson. And they become your marketing team. And they're the ones that are going out telling their friends, oh my gosh, I work for this great company. They're not going to go talk about, like Nancy, you were talking about at the beginning, culture is not the foosball table. It's not the free snacks. That's not what they're going to tell their friends. Although I am a snack lover. Let's be real. I do like some snacks. But those are not the pieces that I'm telling my friends. Hey, you got to work with my company. They have the best Oreo cookies in the snack room. That's not what it is. Although maybe that's what Southwest Airlines, that's maybe how they get theirs, is those good crackers. But, it's more than that. They're not talking about the foosball table in the room. They're talking about, hey, this is what my boss does for me. This is how my boss supports me. And it takes energy, right?
It does. You think about those companies that we all know about, those brands that we like. To your point that your employees, and I call mine associates, think of Nordstrom, Whole Foods Markets. Salesforce was a top 100 company also by Forbes. And it's the people are trusted and respected and valued, and they take that out into the marketplace. They take that out, their pride in their work. Recently, I heard a story from first responders and nurses, and I heard this actually at a Vistage meeting last week. And the survey was done across people passing away, okay? It was the first responders that gave the answers. What do people, when they're on their deathbed, think about? Did I live a life of significance? What a gift we can give to people we work for if we give them trust, value, respect, and give them a life of significance, that their work and time matters. That's a big idea. And I hope that, that's something that we do here in our organization, that your ideas matter. And I think good ideas can come from anywhere, from your board to any level, any person. We had something at the Phelps Group where I worked for 9 years at an ad agency in Santa Monica called the Brain Bangers Ball. The Brain Bangers Ball. And we do that here to brainstorm. And what we do It was always the account supervisor that would get up and say, here's the client, here's the challenge, and we'd eat lunch together. And there's 80 of us having lunch together, and you'd throw up your arm and they would scribe the ideas. You're not going to get all great ideas, of course not, but you can build on some of those nuggets of information to make it a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's finding value within your organization, that your thinking and your ideas matter
Mm-hmm.
from all levels. I know our receptionist, Marie, was there. She came up with great ideas all the time because she was at the front line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you never know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where a lot of this stuff is going to come from, is internal. Your internal people, they know what's going on. They know the clients that they're working with. They know the clients that they're not working with. And if you're not listening to the people that are right there with you, fighting the fight with you, you know, if you're not taking into consideration those ideas and those thoughts, then again, they're not going to feel valued. And Nancy, I love that story that you mentioned about the first responders, because, you know, Sunday you're scrolling through Instagram and you're reading all the motivational quotes.
Yes.
And there's always the one that talks about, when you pass away or you're on your deathbed or whatever it is, or you have that one phone call or whatever it is, you're not going to call your work and say, my last phone call is to tell you about this email. Like, no. Yes, your job is paying bills, but your life is still outside of that. It's your family, your passions, maybe sports, whatever it is. So if there's a way that these can tie together a little more, and so it's not just, Eric, like you said, it can't just be like your guy that, joined you guys instead. He didn't want to have that, hey, I have to work from 8 to 5. He wanted that flexibility. He wanted that support of his actual life and what he's doing outside of work, especially over the past year, right? We've all got different scenarios. We've all heard different scenarios where we've had a kid at home or a mother-in-law or a mother or a father. And it's not, it's not 8 to 5 anymore.
It's integrated. It overlaps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things I just want to talk about, one of the things that we really institutionalized over the last year is we always use Slack, that platform, for quick one-offs as far as getting work-related questions answered versus email. One of the things that we really implemented last year was we have like a foodie faves channel, where when you're cooking things or you prepare dinner, you put it in there, and recipes and stuff like that. We've got a joke channel, joke of the day channel, so people can put those things in there. We've also got fun facts channel, so we can add those things in there as well. So we've really, because we're remote, because you lose that, hey, swing by the office or swing by my desk and, hey, how's your husband doing, or how's your wife doing? You really lose that side of it. And we've really tried to incorporate technology to keep that together, because that, to our point, that's a big part of culture. If they're spending 40 plus hours a week working for you and trying to, build that business, and they're taking care of your customers, you want to make sure, one, like we talked about, they feel valued. It's mutual respect. You treat people like adults. This is what I keep on telling everyone. Right? But also, I want to know you on a personal level too. Mm-hmm. What are your goals? What are your dreams? We implemented another thing, a bucket list. And we said, what do you want to do for the next year? What do you want to do for the next 3 years and 5 years? And we talk about that in the channels. And so we can really say, all right, and we're going to hold each other accountable, because that's really what it comes down to. You got to enjoy the people you work with. And to your point, it's not always just about the paycheck. Mm-hmm. Obviously that's a means to live a life and do other things, but these young adults, and we have a very young staff, they got a lot of options and they can go to different companies. So you've got to separate yourself a little bit more and really, make them feel as if they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely. I have to add to that, Eric, because we're kind of getting into the tactical part. And I don't think people, companies, organizations talk about how to implement a healthy culture, right? It's, yep, add value. Yep, we have trust. What else? Yes, we have a good work environment.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that framework look like? How do you actually implement that? It feels very soft. I don't know what the word is, but squishy, right? You can't really.
Yeah.
But I think if you create frameworks around it, so immediately, especially with the pandemic, I knew we had to communicate more often, right? I knew that had to be a lifeline or a thread. And so we always had our Monday morning meetings, but then I added a Wednesday wisdom where we'll have a speaker or an expert or someone come in and talk, or Eric and help me come talk about the marketing to everybody. It is alphabet soup, what we do in digital marketing, SEO, SEM, right? All that.
Yeah.
So that's Wednesdays. On Fridays, we have Fun Fridays. And each of the associates run that meeting. And I tell you, the creativity and getting to know each other better through whether it's quizzes or whatever game we're playing, we're laughing and having a blast. I mean, it's just wonderful. So that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday meetings. And then a weekly one-to-one, I think, is so important. I never cancel these. It might be 30 minutes or an hour. It's up to the individual for their agenda. I'll have a few questions about things, but if they just want to talk about their dog or kid or vacation, have at it, right? That's fine. It's really that time just to stop the world, check in, see how things are going. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's really important to do some kind of a weekly email to inspire, to share maybe deeper information on what's going on with the organization or environment. Because if people don't hear communication from the leader, they always think the worst. It's human nature, basic psychology. If you're not, I don't care what relationship it is in, again, if you don't have continuous communication in all these different forms, and that's what works for us, then you never really know where you stand or how do you move forward.
And that piece is human nature, right? And it's not even human nature, it's animal nature. At the very beginning of me prior to me working with people, I actually worked with animals and did animal husbandry and animal behavior. And it's at the root of us, that's what it is. We need communication. If we're not communicating, then there's that unknown of, well, what do I do next? And then you can't get mad at them for doing something if you didn't communicate in the first place what they were supposed to do.
Right.
So that communication is absolutely vital. I think sometimes leaders think, oh, well, I don't want to over-communicate. Over-communicate to your staff and let them decide what's too much information. If they start to see, okay, well, maybe this one particular weekly meeting I don't need to be in, let them decide that so that they get to be part of all of those pieces.
True.
And they get that connection, right? And and I love that both of you have these different tools for communicating. I love Slack, right? I think a lot of companies use it. It is that way of, yes, it's a little bit of business, but it's a little bit of fun too, sprinkled into that. Eric, you have another tool that you guys use within your organization for communication and tools too.
Yeah, it's called Get Guru.
Yes.
And it really is, one of the biggest issues that companies have, and especially now remote or, worried about kind of that tribal knowledge of employees have. And if they were to move companies, really trying to keep that in the house. Get Guru is something that we've got in there. And also it goes to empowering your employees. If there's certain sections that, call it operations, call it design, call it, search engine optimization, that employee becomes the owner of that section. So if there's things that are getting updated, you can actually submit, hey, I saw that there was a change online in this process, and you can submit it to that person that owns it, and they can go ahead and update it, and then it's all right there. Especially in a remote environment, like I said, you don't have the opportunity to pop into someone's office or ask them a quick question. But if you start housing some of that, the knowledge base of your companies that we all have, and it's always oh yeah, I forgot how to do this, or we have some sort of training video or manual that's already out there, but it might be 4 years old. And so those are the things that, like, you can ping people to, all right, I know this process changed, but yeah, we love technology. We're constantly trying to look at better ways to make us more efficient. The whole work smarter, not harder attitude.
Right.
And that's that's really has served us well.
And that tool is another one. It's more communication. And it's less of, like you said, oh, we have this training from 4 years ago. Or I've always heard the one of, oh, well, you have to ask so-and-so. It's like one person in the whole organization. And it's like, what if they're sick? Like, what if they, I don't want to ask that one person. I want to have the information. So I love that. Nancy, do you have any other tools that you use that help with you told us about the Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I love all of those. Are there any other tools that you use to just kind of keep everybody connected, whether it's, communication like Slack or anything like that?
Probably not technology wise. We text.
And you guys are in the same, you're in the office together again though now.
Well, it's optional.
Okay.
Right now. So we're seeing improved numbers in COVID, certainly, but it's still optional. We'll be coming in the office, everybody in on Mondays in May, and then June and July we'll go Mondays and Tuesdays. I like that time together, that FaceTime to collaborate. We have a lot of events going on right now. So we hold corporate breakfast at our high schools to bring in corporate contributors to listen how they can contribute their tax dollars. So we teach them in an hour. So I want to get together with them to make sure who's doing what, and who's bringing things. And now we have a template that we follow. So we've had 8 though in a 2-month period, and that's a lot for it's 9 of us.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on.
You guys had to catch up though, because we had so much time of not being able to be closer and interact with people. So I love that you guys are working.
Our parishes, there's 100 parishes, and I have a parish liaison. And as you know, we couldn't get out to the churches, so it just we weren't able to. So half of our contributions come from individuals. So very important that we get out to the parishes and tell our story, either from the altar, they let us speak for a couple of minutes, or an exhibit, and just it's constant education, because people are coming in new from other states and they don't know what they have a choice on where they want to put their tax dollars, whether you're an individual or a corporation. And that's a great choice to be able to have here in the state.
Yeah. Well, we are getting closer on time. So one of the things that I always try and have this be a very fluid conversation, right? We just kind of talk and ask each other questions. There's only one question that I am consistent about. And I always ask my guests, you two are the leaders for your organization, right? So if you had to summarize your company culture in one word, what would it be?
Flexibility.
Ooh.
Yeah. And let me tell you.
Both of you, I love it.
Let me tell you why. Okay. So I don't tell you COVID, you have to be flexible.
Oh, yeah.
But we actually took a survey through the Phoenix Business Journal, and it was 30 questions from a third-party research firm, and everybody filled it out. That was the one word that they loved about our organization. So it's
Ooh.
coming from all the associates, but that also garnered us being the 22nd ranked best place to work in the small business category
Yay!
in Phoenix. So that is fantastic news.
Woo!
And hopefully we'll move up next year. But 22 is pretty good.
That is
That's
pretty
great.
good. And I love that. And Eric, you said the same word.
Yeah. Oh, 1 second. The room's going dark on me. Sorry. So
Wave your arm there.
I'm in a big conference room down here.
Nice.
Same thing. And I think it really goes to exactly what we've been talking about on the show today is being able to be flexible as an organization, to show mutual respect to your employees, to allow them to work when they want to work, or when just as long as things are getting done and you've got the metrics to really measure those things. That's really what is building a great culture, is being adaptable, being flexible. Because everyone's going to have some unique needs. We're all rowing in the right direction, but you need to be flexible for your employees. And so, those are the big things. One other thing that I would say is, and it's only taken us 20 years to get here, is we use predictive index and 16 personalities online. More times than not, I've kind of gone with my gut, or, hey, they did a great interview, but their PI says something else. I've talked to other business owners here at Galvanize as well. Once you have a model as far as your star employees, just replicate that. Don't try to, get cute on selling those. And that helps build your culture as well. Having same-minded, like-minded people that share your core values.
I love it.
We use strength finders. So our executive chair, Melissa Fees, gives a great gift of going through the Gallup strength finders. And so we can really understand the different areas that we bring to the table. And then you also figure out, oh, that makes sense about Sally, or gosh, now I get it. You can't help how you're wired, but long as you all have the same mission and goals and values, I mean, I just think it's terrific to understand people's strengths and build on them.
It helps you find that alignment that's the same thing you would do with your significant other, right? You want to make sure that you're going to align. Well, think about it. Nowadays, we spend more time with our coworkers practically than our significant other. So why wouldn't I want to align with them as well?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Eric, were you going to add one last thing?
Oh, I was just going to say, when we do those things, we actually share that, and we have additional meetings when we say, all right, this is why X employee behaves in a certain way, or hey, this is how you would approach, I'll take me, for example. Bring me detailed bullets of what you want to get done and how you're going to do it, and I'll let you run. If you give me this huge story or take up an hour of my time, we're just moving too fast as CEOs to kind of get in the weeds of things. Let's look at details. So I tell my employees, here's my PI, here's the results of how you want to talk to me if you want to get things done. And we do that as a round table often as well. Because again, you forget, you look at it quarterly or whatever and say, all right, this is how we, can best support each other.
Yeah, I love that. Well, before we hop off, I want to give the opportunity for both of you to let everyone know how they can reach you. Eric, I'm going to start with you first. So any last thoughts, and how can people reach out if they need your support?
Well, thank you very much. Last thoughts would be corporate culture is imperative to the success of your organization. So definitely take it seriously. Obviously, you're listening to the podcast and see that as well. To reach out and learn more about digital marketing services and website design, and our solutions are very cost effective. You can go to our website at fasturtle.com. or give us a call at 480-348-0467, and a representative will be able to help you out and get you the right solution.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. And Nancy, I'm going to have you go, because then you can tell us that last little what is that last little bit you want everyone to know about Catholic Education Arizona? And then I don't have to read it because they can hear it straight from you.
Well, here's what we're doing every day. This is why we jump out of bed. We are giving scholarships to underserved children to truly change the world. Builds communities, builds families, builds your future workforce. And if we don't invest now, I say you pay later. So I say invest now, use your individual tax dollars, use your corporate tax dollars for good and better the workforce, better the community. To reach us, www.ceaz.org. And our phone number is 602-218-6542. Please call us. I have an incredible group here that will take all of your questions. And we have some real experts. And I'm just thrilled every day to get to work with this group of people. They're so talented and so caring. And we're moving mountains over here. So thank you for helping us share our message.
No worries. You guys are moving some pretty big mountains and, you're doing amazing things in the community, but you're also building a company with a great company culture, which we all love as well. So thank you both of you for coming on today. Thank you for joining us on the Culture Crush podcast, the podcast that does a deep dive with company leaders to learn about tips for a good culture, real life experiences, and best practices for creating a healthy work environment where employees can find joy and satisfaction in their work. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Culture Crush, the only podcast out there that does a deep dive of companies that are crushing it with a great company culture. If you think your company has a strong culture that should be highlighted, please reach out to Kendra Maples on LinkedIn or email us at culturecrushpodcast@gmail.com.